Welcome to Just Answering Questions with WAPTech. On a video where I point out that instead of giving opinions on radiation, you should just go out and measure it and show that it's happening. This is what I get. This idiot is incredibly stupid and misled by an industry that thrives on its lies. All industries thrive on lies, and again, you haven't contradicted me saying that you can go out with measurement equipment and prove radiation is killing literally everything on the West Coast, as Beautiful Girl by Dana says. By the way, this person's icon is a Beautiful Girl by Dana meme. So anyway, you are completely ill-informed. No, I'm not. I'm looking up the same information your idiots are misquoting. I'm not uninformed. I'm explaining that you're literally not reading what they tell you is their source. And again, go out and measure the radiation and prove it's there or it's not there. Some people actually get out of the house and do stuff. Why don't you go out and have a sundae or a milkshake and stuff? That's much more useful to you. Fukushima is the death of our planet. Fukushima is not as bad as Chernobyl. Chernobyl is literally hundreds of times worse. It is a fantastically big problem, but it did not make landfall in the United States any more or less, really. But it went away too. And do you remember, or are you going to tacitly go la 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 when I say the United States detonated nuclear warheads on our own soil and over the ocean, and it blew back? You have to then ignore, you have to just come up with a magic universe where only Fukushima is dangerous when it's not a nuclear warhead. It's literally an atomic power plant driven off of low enrichment uranium. Fuel grade uranium isn't weapons grade. Chernobyl is 6.66% worse than Fukushima. No. You're using my statistics? Did you read anything? Yeah, actually I think it is. I'm sure it's hundreds of times worse, really. But the actual output? I don't know. Maybe we should look that up again. I'll put a link to the video. Because I quote actual stats on how much material was literally liberated into the atmosphere in Chernobyl versus Fukushima. Do you know that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were hit with atom bombs too? What about Russia detonating Tsar Bomba? What about their radiation accidents? Why aren't you talking about the other sources of radiation and keep focusing on this? What is the activism you're doing here? Is it because it gets page views? This is the worst example of how to say the nuclear industry is bad. The Fukushima incident is really strange because even though they bumble, even though the government is completely incompetent, they managed to contain it to the point that literally no one died from radiation that we can confirm at all. Which is completely batshit crazy. It shouldn't be that way. There should be at least 1 or 2 deaths from radiation. The actual deaths were from people physically getting damaged because the thing was falling apart after an earthquake and being hit with a tsunami. I mean, they got blind lucky. But you use that as an example? Why don't you just use Chernobyl as an example? It's a perfect example of what can go wrong in a nuclear power plant. They did a test. They ignored protocols because the human being was able to bypass safety procedures. Why aren't you talking about that? You don't talk about what actually causes problems. What about 3 Mile Island? Do you actually know what caused 3 Mile Island to be infamous? Most of you just had to pause the video to go look that up. Anti-nuke people that are irrational don't get paid attention to. That is the point. You're trying to look irrational so people will ignore you so you can stay in business longer as an activist. An activist that is taken seriously becomes the establishment, and you don't want that. You don't want power. You want the ability to futz with people and be annoying in comment sections. That's why this is a hobby. That's why you use memes. That's why you like Beautiful Girl by Dana. And that's also why a lot of you, not the same people necessarily, but a lot of people with that same attitude love Trump. Trump absolutely ignores facts and just screams rhetoric. That's extremely popular. It worked for World War II. No, I'm not comparing him to Hitler. I'm comparing him to literally everybody. Before we were an informed population, that worked really well. Now it's almost like it's, oh, how quaint. He's acting like a dictator. No, I'm going to bring up the Marcos regime in the Philippines in a minute, too. On my other channel. You can wipe my ass with that number and eat it if you think that number is even remotely correct. This is based on measurements by the people who are taking care of Chernobyl and the people who are taking care of Fukushima and the watchdogs that are taking care of it, including, I didn't tell anybody the source, but BioNerd, the chick, the YouTuber who goes around and measures crap, she's been to Chernobyl and to Fukushima and did measurements. None of you did. That's what that YouTuber does. What do? You tell me that you won't listen to me. That's fine. I don't expect a zealot to listen. You've literally turned it into a religion. That proves science isn't a religion, because you're considered non-scientific if you ignore facts in favor of your feels, which is the reason a lot of us don't like certain people who are pontificators. You're a mouth breather that deserves to live and work in a nuclear plant for a few years so you can shut the hell up. You making fun of my sinus problems? Really? Oh, you mean mouth breather by the other. There's an actual reason for that expression. Do you know what it is? You don't know what it is, do you? The plain truth is your channel should be taken down for misleading people. I'm not lying to people. All you have to do is look at the sources I provide and either show that they contain false information, you have better information, or that I misquoted them, with Beautiful Girl by Dana misquotes every freaking thing he posts because he doesn't have any ammunition for his bullshit rhetoric. Or you could state that I'm attempting to mislead people by telling them only part of it, which you could possibly do. But you're not going to do any of that. Do a video takedown of what I said, what I actually said. Don't do what DeFango did, where he literally took crap out of context and kind of lined it up. So I said something that sounded embarrassing so that he could make fun of me because he was bored and wanted drama that week. And that was about Pizzagate, because he figured out that he had been had. Anyway. There is a special place for you in death, and I hope that place is directly on the Chernobyl elephant's foot. Have you actually tried to figure out the technical requirements for dismantling and removing the elephant's foot? I'm not asking a silly question here. Do you know how hard that is? When you have radiation that intense, it's not like being on the surface of the sun, but it's pretty close as far as radiation. Radiation can mechanically destroy metal. It can degrade it, and it doesn't just corrode it. It literally annihilates the atoms in it. The only thing that doesn't get annihilated is something sufficiently dense like uranium and plutonium. You'd almost have to build a robot out of depleted uranium and depleted plutonium and other really exotic materials just to get something in there that mechanically wouldn't break. Electric motors would fail. Magnetic fields get broken down when it gets hit with this much radiation, because you're literally dealing with pieces of atoms flying around with sufficient enough energy to either be captured, changing the atomic number of which you are making your robot out of, or breaking it. Are you aware of how that works? Or are you just going to keep concentrating on rhetoric? Now, if anybody's curious, most of the people who do this stuff want to be seen in the comment section doing this because, number one, it gets them their rockin', hawkin', snockin', bockin', and so on. They get excited, number one. Number two, they do it for attention. Number three, those are two separate things. Number three, some of them are actually part of a group of people who are grassrootsing thing, and you call them shills, but they're literally grassrootsing, and they don't care about facts. Activists don't care about facts or outcomes, and a lot of them, and this is what I'm accusing this jerk of, who affiliate with people like Beautiful Girl by Dana, don't want to solve a problem ever. Because if they solve it, they have nothing to do. That's why you have people inventing things like Nibiru. It's not a real problem. Therefore, you can't actually accuse them of doing anything destructive. Even if they cause someone to commit suicide, you know, they're not literally, quote-unquote, lying about something because they're bringing up a completely fantastic and fantasy-based story. Next one. On my video where I show that the bug is what you're seeing, not a UFO, and also calling into question literally everything about it. When you speak to the world about this footage, know the Holy Ghost is speaking, because the alien ship appears at Matthew such and such. Look it up. A Bible is not a reference point to a video that was recently produced, and the Bible did not predict things 2,000 years ahead. It predicted things within 1 or 2 lifetimes of its writing. That was its purpose. You're ignoring the purpose of the Bible and its revelations. And most of the stuff didn't come true as far as we know. Actually, a lot of it came true. You just don't know how to look it up. Again, people who trumpet this stuff, the 7 trumpets, don't realize that a lot of stuff they're talking about already happened. You just fail to realize it. If you study history, you stop repeating it. Holy, you misspelled, Spirit rules all worlds. That's not the claim within the Bible. It's only claimed that the Holy Spirit affects this world and the universe itself, but not necessarily extra worlds. It's your holy frickin' hecklin' Father, Elise, heavenly sent homo. Now we're getting to weird stuff. Just kidding. I'm in the remote slightest kitties. Click my name and read all the media pages, top, bottom, about pages. I'm gonna hit my Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Let me know, dude. Finally showed. Omega, the little object, and it just goes on and on and on. I got good comments today. I got to expose them. Anyway, I'll let this post, obviously. He has a couple of links to videos. It may be something useful. But I want to point out something. My disdain for religion, if anybody's curious, doesn't mean I believe that it's not useful to look into what caused these writings and what happened later that you're all ignoring. And someone asked me, can you do a video on that previous societies that were advanced like us and died off? I'll think about it. Totally not related. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.